Winner of the Best Training Manual Award from the Intercollegiate Broadcasting System.
The voice of Nassau Community College.
This is the award-winning 90.3 WHPC.
WHPC HD Garden City.
Available on the iHeartRadio app.
Welcome to another edition of From the Press Box here every Monday, live on WHPC, actually HD, also nccradio.org, and it turns into a podcast later on Spreaker.com and iTunes.com. But if you'd like to call in, 516-572-7440. Use either one, brother. Use either one. I don't care.
This one works.
Yeah, there's like 5 mics being used here. That's fine. Anyway, I am Rob Leonard, and joining me, of course, is my award-winning sports writer brother, Tim Leonard.
Good morning, brother.
Though last week I'm listening to Andrew Zucker.
Oh, you're getting into it. All right.
I thought he was maybe making fun of me a little bit.
Nah.
Because he kept calling you my brother.
A little good-natured.
He kept calling you my brother.
That's all it was.
And I'm like, oh, well, that's me, man. I don't even know if Andrew has a. I mean, the problem with Andrew is, let's be honest, he's a Duke fan.
That's a big problem.
Yeah, and he didn't go to school. It's one thing if you go to school like our friend Suzanne St. Pierre did.
That is a problem.
She went to Duke and then went to UCLA Law. But how could you be a Duke fan?
Oh, there's a lot of them.
If you didn't go to Duke.
There is a lot of them. It's almost like in some ways how are so many people Notre Dame fans?
That's different.
How is it different?
That's an Irish thing.
Yeah.
The Fighting Irish. Come on, Tim.
I don't know. People like to attach themselves to winning programs, and as much as it pains me to say it, Duke has been a winning program. So
I remember as a kid?
That's a big part of it.
You know what I remember as a kid? I was watching. Remember Anthony Davis? He was a running back. Ended up playing in the WFL and played, I think, for the Jets.
Vaguely, I remember.
But
you're obviously not talking about the center for
no.
for the New Orleans Pelicans.
No.
Just wanted to clarify.
Anthony Davis was running back at USC, and I remember as a kid watching. I don't really watch a lot of college football, but I had the game on for some reason. That was true. And he did like a 100-yard run on a kickoff or something, and I was like, "Wow, I'm going to be a USC fan now." That didn't last too long.
Go for it, bro.
That didn't last too long.
No. It ended with the Sanchez?
No, it ended way before that.
Just making sure.
What Sanchez would be Sanchez? Would that be? Sanchez is
Mark
who?
Sanchez.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I can't believe he just fell apart. He had.
Let's not get into Sanchez.
I'm just saying he had a couple of decent seasons for the Jets.
Well, the Jets were a better team then,
right?
And then when the Jets started getting worse, and then he wound up getting exposed,
right? But I'm just saying, why not?
Again, let's not waste.
I'm not saying. I'm not. I'm just
Sanchez.
saying. I'm just when you think about it, how does someone who had it, decent setup, so to speak, lose it? Anyway,
these things happen in sports.
Anyway, there's so much to talk about this week because
so much.
The Islanders.
That's why I don't want to waste time on Mark Sanchez.
Yes, I don't blame you. The Islanders. We're going to start out. I was going to start with the World Cup, but you know what? Let's start out.
We got to start draft.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, the Islanders.
As much as I'm looking forward to talking about my man Harry Kane, we got to start draft.
So, the Islanders were very busy this week. The draft happened for the NHL on Friday.
Friday and Saturday.
It's Friday and Saturday, okay.
But I will say, I'm going to cut you off for 1 second, brother. The Islanders, yes, they were busy, but by all accounts, the Islanders had as successful a weekend as any team in the NHL. And that was so encouraging to hear.
They had a great weekend, let's be honest.
Really did.
They if this is the beginning of the new era for the New York Islanders, it started off great. You wouldn't write a better beginning.
Yeah. Everything or anything that could have gone well probably went even better than expected.
Barry Trotz is signed as the coach.
Great move. How can you argue with a guy who just won a Stanley Cup?
Right.
Let's put it this way. I actually knew Barry Trotz a long time ago, As far as if I'm remembering correctly, he was a coach in the American Hockey League.
Right.
And there was a short time where I would help out Dave Rosenbaum when I was working up in Troy. And
right. We should say at one point you worked for the Troy Records,
Yes.
so it was the Albany River Rats.
Yes,
You know.
and the Capital District Islanders were
By the way,
playing up there too.
By the way, just as a side thing,
Yes.
I'm very angry that the Staten Island Yankees have now tried to become the Staten Island Pizza Rats.
That's like a temporary.
I know, but you know what? It bothers me
It's stupid.
because it's Staten Island and there's no Pizza Rats in Staten Island.
Well, there's no subway in Staten
right.
Island.
So it should be like if it was a Manhattan team or a Brooklyn team, then you can call it the Pizza Rats.
Well,
I know why they do it. It's to sell merchandise.
Yeah, to sell merchandise, exactly.
They should
But
be called the
it's-
Highlanders
it
anyway,
was
but that's
ridiculous.
something else.
I mean, first of all, you're going away from the biggest brand in professional sports,
Right.
By
but
not
then again,
saying
I
you're
can
the
understand
Yankees.
that. But what I would have done, I would call the Highlanders because it was the original name of the Islanders. But that's
Well,
something
the
else.
original name of the Yankees. You mean?
I mean, I'm sorry. The
Yes,
Yankees.
that's all
yes.
right. So anyway, the point that I was making is Barry Trotz goes way back, and he hasn't always been the great coach. Let's face it, he was a good coach in a good situation for the last several years with the Capitals.
Right.
They had a loaded team. They have one of the best players in the game now, Alex Ovechkin. So you're going to be a pretty successful coach that way. And this year, there were some rumblings before the playoffs started that the Capitals might get rid of Barry Trotz, and they didn't want to pay him. And I figured those rumors would be put to rest after he won the Stanley Cup because, hey, how do you let the guy who just won you the cup get away?
I can't.
They
think,
did.
I can't think of maybe Jerry Jones won the Super Bowl and then was let go. But I'm not Jerry Jones. Jimmy Johnson.
Jimmy Johnson?
Well, I'm trying to think. Was he let go right
That's a
afterwards?
good question. I don't even remember.
I'll
'cause
check
I'm
that
not
out.
I'm not a Cowboys guy.
But what I'm thinking is that how do you let the guy who just won the Stanley Cup go and let him go to a guy in your division?
Well,
a team in your division, which is the Islanders.
they don't know that that's going to happen when they make. I mean, first of all, basically they didn't want to pay him. That's what it comes down to. And there had been some disagreement in philosophy, as they like to say in sports, during the season. So it's almost like, and I hate to bring soccer back into it, but it's almost like Zinedine Zidane for Real Madrid. The guy wins the Champions League. He wins the most important tournament and competition in Europe during the season, and then he quote unquote stepped down after the season. Real Madrid wanted to let him go. In fact, they wanted to hire the Tottenham manager as their new guy, but he told them to forget it. But how do you let the guy go who wins you the most important title in Europe? And it's the same thing with the Capitals.
Right.
Barry, I mean, it seems like achievement doesn't have a lot to do with managers, coaches, whichever sport. It doesn't seem to have a lot to do with, do you get an extension anymore? It's just, all right, you know what? We don't really like you that much, and yeah, you won a title. Thanks a lot, but take a walk.
Well, I think sometimes they think, well, it's the system that won the title, not the coach.
But the coach is the guy who does this, who puts together the system.
Right, but you know who thinks that sometimes? Lou Lamoriello. he likes to think that it's his system that is made. Now, mind you, he's won 3 Stanley Cups, and he did run the Devils pretty well. But it was always seemingly about Lou. Now, I don't think he has that much time to make it all about Lou like he did with the Devils. By the way, Jimmy Johnson, 1993, wins the Super Bowl, is let go the next year. Or actually let go before 94.
So he didn't coach. He was let go after the Super Bowl.
Yeah. So 94, 95, he was out of coaching. I think he was doing broadcasting.
Probably.
And 96 to 99, he was the Dolphins coach.
There you go.
So
probably got a lot of money to coach the Dolphins.
And he did, and he was...
Might have been coaching GM, as a matter of fact.
He was over 500 3 of the 4 times, and was 500.
Might have been the last time the Dolphins were over 500.
Yeah, so...
That's so awful.
Imagine being well, you know what? Being a Fish fan is not as bad. I think being a Jets fan is worse, but we don't expect much.
I told my man Colin Busher over in the UK. His son is a Dolphins fan. And when he told me that, he says, "Oh yeah," he goes, "My son, he's rooting for the Dolphins." I'm like, "Get him off of that immediately." And he said, "Oh no, he likes. I don't even know what he likes, but he likes big Dolphins." And I'm like, "No, seriously, get him off that team now."
Right.
And they were great when Don Shula was coaching them back in the early 70s. They have not been good since.
Well, Dan Marino was the last time.
They were good, but have they won a Super Bowl? No.
Never won.
They're jet-like.
Yes.
I told him, I said, get him off. Get the kid off. And he showed a picture. They bought him a jersey last year. What jersey did they get him? Jarvis Landry. Is he a Dolphin anymore? Nope.
That's why it's tough to buy jerseys. When we were kids,
my man Gal, he bought a Saquon Barkley jersey. It looked good on him too. I saw it
when we were
on Twitter
kids,
the other day.
you knew mostly that your players were going to stick around because of the rules of the league. And now it's like you got a guy like Mike Hampton. Remember him with the Mets?
Mike Hampton. Quality left-hander.
One thing I hated about when Mike Hampton was on the Mets is
big education proponent.
I remember he was leaving. I knew he was leaving at the end of the season.
Of course.
Which he did and never had the same season again.
Because he went to Colorado. That's the dumbest place for a free agent pitcher to go.
Well, he took the money.
A lot of money.
It shouldn't always be about the money, but that's just me.
Speaking of free agents and departing, brother, or possibly departing,
right?
John Tavares.
I think John Tavares is staying. He's just walking around.
I think he is too.
To maybe go on vacation and write it off because he can just write off that he visited.
He's not writing anything off. They're paying for it.
Oh, they're paying for it? Then he's just getting some vacation time. Come on. It's like,
what do you think? Do you think players are paying their own way to go?
I don't know. Do they?
Somebody's going to give. Well, put it this way: if the Islanders sign John Tavares, it's going to be for 8 years for about $88 million.
I agree.
So you think John Tavares is paying for a flight?
I don't know. Maybe. I don't know.
Come on.
I don't know how they pay for it.
Your man Phil Staros just says he just bought a throwback Joe DiMaggio jersey.
See, that's
something
different.
that never goes out of style, right there.
Good
man, Phil.
That doesn't change what's going on. I agree. But yeah, John Tavares is out in Los Angeles, and he's just testing the market, and
he's having conversations. And our man Bob Tuck, I was having a little conversation with him on Facebook over the weekend.
I saw that,
and he's a little angry.
He is a
little angry at Johnny Tavares, and I told him, I said, let's not get mad at him yet. Let's not get upset.
No.
And you know what? You know what he is mad about, and I'm a little mad about this too, is that the Islanders should have realized at some point before the trading deadline that, you know what, this isn't working this year, and let's see if we can get some assets for John Tavares. Much like the Yankees sent Aroldis Chapman to the Cubs,
and then he came back
and got a hero named Gleyber Torres in return.
Right.
Why didn't the Islanders try to do something like that with Tavares? I'd say, look, we're still extraordinarily interested in you, and we're certainly going to be the highest bidder, and we want you back. But you know what? If we trade you now, we could get 2 or 3 more pieces that are going to help you win a Stanley Cup when you come back. Yeah, but you
can't guarantee someone you're going to resign.
And that's the problem. That's what I said. That's what I said to Bob. Is the risk in that is that you send John Tavares to a place. And either A, he wins and decides he likes, and B, decides he likes that new place and wants to stay there.
Yeah.
And then you're left, okay, you know what, we made a trade, and at least we got something back for him, but this didn't go the way we hoped it would go. And that's the problem, is that when the Yankees do something like that, and it's rare that they do something like that, a player comes in with the mindset and with the knowledge that, hey, you know what, the Yankees are competing for a title pretty much every season. And if I go back to the Yankees, chances are I'm going to win a World Series, or at least get to a World Series. The Islanders don't have that luxury. Where and back again, that was Garth Snow, so you can't even say that they would even make the playoffs under his dismal leadership. But that is something that the Islanders probably should have at least looked at and solicited offers and said, all right, you know what? We don't want to trade this guy, but if somebody gives us a couple of number 1 picks or a couple of really good prospects, then we're going to take a shot and see what we can do.
Would it affect the salary cap? That would be my question.
That's the
if
thing.
it affected the salary cap, I would say, you know what? Don't do it.
That's the thing I'm not sure of. I have to assume, and I'm not 100% sure about this, but I assume that right now the Islanders can offer Tavares 8 years in a contract. They're the only team that can do that. Everybody else can only offer him 7 years. Now, would the Islanders lose that if they traded him? I have to assume the answer is yes to that. Because why he wouldn't be their property? Why would they be able to offer him the 8th year?
Good point.
So they do retain that slight bit of negotiating advantage, and it's not really that big. I mean, it's 1 year. So I mean, yes, you can offer him a bigger package and obviously more money because you can throw that extra year in there. But is it really that much of a carrot to dangle. I mean, if somebody offers Tavares 7 years for $77 million and the Islanders offer 8 for $88 million, what's really the difference there?
There's no difference.
I mean, there is, but
There is,
because
but-
that
but-
18